Over the years, we've seen many disturbing internet mysteries. Some were solved quickly, while others remain unsolved to this day. You never really know what you're getting yourself into when you start to investigate them, but one thing is always for sure, you're bound to fall down a deep rabbit hole. Tonight, I've compiled the best internet mysteries from the 2010s for your viewing pleasure. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the darkness. Before we get into the topics, I just wanted to thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you enjoy, a like and subscribe would mean the world, but without further ado, let's get into the video. 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto. The name Satoshi Nakamoto is probably one that you've heard before. It's the pseudonym used by the person who first introduced the concept of Bitcoin back in 2008. But the reason we're discussing him for 2010 is because he hasn't been heard from since that time. Satoshi started work on the first version of Bitcoin back in 2007, with all of the communication between him and his connections going through email. Because of this, no one really knew anything about him. But that wasn't really a concern for the people working closely with him. All they cared about was that he knew what he was doing, and it's safe to say that he did. In 2008, Satoshi introduced the concept of cryptocurrency to a wider audience through a paper that he published. He was the first person to create the blockchain system of verification to solve the problem of crypto duplication. And before long, the currency that he had helped to create quickly started to rise in popularity, being worth approximately $1.4 trillion in 2024. With the insane price of the currency, it's safe to say that he's loaded. It's estimated that his Bitcoin wallet today is worth about 70 billion, but we don't know who he is. And to this day, not a single bit of money has been removed from that wallet. No one has ever met Satoshi, and no photographs of the man exist. He could be one person, or it could be a small group of individuals. The last contact that anyone had with the man was in April of 2011. He had already fallen under the radar at this point, but Satoshi had come out to say that he had moved on to other things. He also wrote that he wished people would stop talking about him like a mysterious shadowy figure, but it's safe to say the request wasn't granted because people still talk about him like that to this day. Although we still don't know who he is, there are some clues that could lead us to eventually crack the case. From timestamps on communications, it's assumed that Satoshi is either from the United Kingdom or the United States. Further analysis of his emails would discover that he often used the British spelling of words, which narrows down the search because that means he was either living in or was educated in the UK. But that's about it. We really don't know much, and maybe that's a good thing. Satoshi chose to be anonymous. The whole concept of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized and you don't have to put your trust in a singular owner. If Satoshi had identified himself when Bitcoin first launched, he could have been seen as this higher figure that held some sort of power over the entire currency. This could have put people off and could have even resulted in Bitcoin not reaching the heights that it has today. So although he was certainly a crucial player in the creation of Bitcoin, maybe it's time for us all to grant his wish and let him keep his anonymity. 2011, 8858. 8858 was a subreddit that caught the attention of Redditors in 2011. All of the posts were made by a user called A858DE45F56D9BC9, and he had been posting seemingly random codes to this subreddit for years until it was found. Some of the codes were encrypted so that it meant it was essentially impossible to solve them, but others seemed to be specifically designed so that internet sleuths could figure out the meaning behind the messages. The first thing people tried to figure out was if it was an actual person behind the account or if it was a bot. Redditors noticed that the codes were being posted at regular intervals, but that there was slight differences between each post, such as a few seconds of time difference between the posts or it being posted at certain hours throughout the day. The other thing pointing towards this being an actual person was that they would respond to some comments, but not everyone. It wasn't like a code that had been set up to respond to all comments, but rather it was like A858 was choosing a specific group of users who he wanted to interact with. Further adding to the theory that there was someone behind this was when the Solving A858 subreddit started to get attention, it seemed as though the user was aware of it. It was almost like he was watching the subreddit, and some people even began to theorize that he may be a member under everyone's noses. So while it couldn't be 100% confirmed that it wasn't a bot set up by someone, there was genuine evidence to believe that this was a real person. hidden. To this day, a few of A858's posts have been solved. The most popular one is a recreation of Stonehenge, which was hidden inside of a coded message. Some other posts include a birthday cake on the anniversary of his account, and also a reference to the 2015 April Fool's event Press a Button on Reddit. It was clear that whoever was behind A858 was very in touch with the Reddit community. They had a good idea of everything that was going on, and that further added to the theory that he was actually lurking in the A858 solving subreddit. But things would eventually reach their end when the subreddit would go private. This wasn't an uncommon occurrence, as when it started to get a lot of traffic, it would sometimes go private until the attention died down. But one day, that would change to a permanent shutdown. One of the most popular subreddits stated that A858 has now concluded and urged people to unsubscribe. Of course, people didn't actually, because they held out hope that one day A858 would return. But the day that he would return with codes never came, and he actually deleted both of his accounts. Only one of the subreddits is still available to view. The community has stayed strong up until now, hoping that eventually they can figure out if there was some sort of hidden purpose behind the codes. People refuse to believe that this was all for nothing, instead convincing themselves that there is a reason behind it all. Nowadays, there are many theories. Some people think it was a recruiting process, similar to what people think of Cicada, but others think it was a failed marketing campaign. Whether we'll ever know the true answer, we can't be sure. But A858 remains as one of the most mysterious internet mysteries to ever hit the web. Okay, I'll be completely for real right now. I do not know how I missed this during my initial research, recording, and script writing, but there is actually an answer to 858. I'll show the post on screen right now. You can read it if you want. Basically, some company was paying the guy to post it, and eventually they wanted to stop funding the project. And that's the story of 850. I really don't know how I missed that, but still an interesting mystery nonetheless. 2012, Cicada 3301. As I just mentioned, people have compared 858 to another mystery from the 2010s, the mystery of Cicada 3301. On the 4th of January 2012, a post was made to 4chan. It was simply white text against a black background, and it read, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in the image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck." And it was signed off with 3 numbers. 3301. This piqued the interest of a lot of users, but some fell at the first hurdle, unable to uncover the secret message that was allegedly hidden inside of the image. But that wasn't the case for one man, 34-year-old computer analyst Joel Eriksson from Sweden. Within minutes, he had found reference to a Caesar cipher, and he thought he had cracked the case. When he thought he had found a URL hidden in the code, he put it into his search bar. As the page loaded, he was greeted with a picture of a duck, accompanied by a message that said, "Whoops, just decoys this way. Looks like you can't guess how to get the message out." And with that, he was hooked. If it was just a simple Caesar cipher, Eriksson admitted that he may have lost interest. But with this new revelation, he was determined to go deeper into the rabbit hole. After more digging, he eventually reached a page that showed a cicada and a countdown timer. When the timer reached 0, it displayed 14 GPS coordinates from all around the world, in many different countries. People following the mysteries in different countries went to the places that they were being directed to, and they would find posters with a cicada logo and also a QR code. And for most participants, this is where the 2012 mystery would reach its end. The website shut down abruptly with a message saying that they wanted the best, not the followers. Whoever was behind the mystery did get in touch with some of the investigators, but Eriksson wasn't part of the lucky few, despite coming painfully close. The only missing piece of his puzzle was that he had failed to register his email address with a Tor service in time, and he genuinely believes to this day that if he had done that, he could have been one of the chosen ones. A few weeks after this, Cicada returned to make one more post. They said that their search had reached their end and that they had found the individuals that they were looking for. They signed off by saying that their journey has ended. For now. And right enough, they returned in 2013. And then in 2014, and then again in 2016. It's a very interesting rabbit hole, and to this day, the third puzzle remains unsolved. There is clearly a group of talented individuals behind this, and we still don't know who. The assumption that many people came to was that this was a hacking group. They were accused of illegal activity by a number of authorities in different countries, and they even came out to say that they had no involvement in illegal activity. The most likely theory is that this was some sort of government organization or similar entity behind it all. They clearly have a lot of people in different countries, and the people who solved the puzzle remain secretive and unheard of. I'm not saying there is a secret society ruling over us all, but it's not uncommon for places like the CIA or MI6 to use recruitment methods just like this. They use ciphers and other tactics to make sure that they only recruit the best of the best. And to be honest, I don't think we'll ever know the truth, especially if this is recruitment for some sort of military organization. There have been no attempts to monetize the game by the group themselves, so I don't think this is some sort of ARG. I'm convinced this is real, and it remains one of the most compelling mysteries that I've ever looked into. We haven't had a new verified message from Cicada since April of 2017, but who knows? Maybe one day, the mysterious group will return with a new puzzle. 2013, Alex from Tennessee. The story of Alex of Tennessee originated from 4chan in 2013, but started to attract the attention of the wider web in 2014. It certainly freaked people out at the time, and once you read it for yourself, you'll understand why. An anonymous user said that he was going to post coordinates that would lead those willing to participate to a prize. What the prize was, people didn't know, but they were certainly eager to find out. The coordinates were posted shortly after, and the user said, "Buy this rubble, your prize awaits. Park nearby and walk to this point for the secret. It's under plastic at this point. Good luck." With the description of it being under plastic, some people were completely out because they genuinely thought that the coordinates could lead to human remains. But while some people weren't willing to make the trip, one person was. A user called Alex from Tennessee. It was figured out that the location given led to a secluded area in the city of Elizabethton, and as time ticked on, comments made by the anonymous OP started to get creepier. He would reply to people doubting his so-called prize, saying things like, "It is warm and there are no cops here," and they just kept getting more disturbing. After 5 brutal days, users would finally have an answer though, as Alex from Tennessee would make a follow-up thread. He claimed that he had gone to the location that the creepy OP had given. He attached photos of what he described as a dirt basement, which contained empty jars, broken wires, pill bottles, and a plastic bag that had previously been posted by the OP. When questioned about what was in the bag, Alex said that he had taken a look, and that it contained what seemed to be a mummified pelvis and a folded paper plate. Disturbingly, when the paper plate was unfolded, it read, "Plate's a date, a very important date. You shouldn't have come. I lied." One thing to note here is that this was being posted live as it happened. Many users were following these discoveries live, eager to find out what was going on. But after the paper plate discovery, people were starting to get worried for Alex, and his next post certainly didn't help to calm their concerns. Alex posted saying that he heard someone outside, and that they were driving really slow over the gravel. This is where the story ends, leaving some people to wonder what happened to Alex on that fateful day. So what are the theories? The first theory is that Alex did go to the location and was met by some sort of foul play. The person who initially posted the coordinates may have been planning to carry out a disturbing act on whoever was dumb enough to go. But with no evidence to back this up apart from Alex's claims that he heard someone outside, this is nothing more than speculation. The more likely theory is that Alex and OP are one and the same, and that this was simply an attempt at pranking the internet. If this is true, then it certainly works because this mystery is still spoken about to this day. Backing up this theory is that there are no missing person or homicide cases in the area that feature someone called Alex. If he had truly gone missing that day, then you think that his disappearance would have been reported to the authorities. We likely would have heard about it, but alas, that wasn't the case. There is a chance that Alex wasn't his real name since chance that was just a screen name, but again, we have nothing to back this up. Some people have also debunked the thread by saying that it's extremely unrealistic that he would be posting live updates in such an intense situation. There was about a minute and a half between each post, and if you take into consideration the time it would have taken him to capture the image, navigate to 4chan, type it all out and then post it, it seems highly unlikely that this would have been done while he was on the go. This has led people to believe that when he was originally at the location 5 days prior, he had taken those pictures and was posting them from the comfort of his own home on the alleged day of his disappearance. The final piece of evidence that leads people to believe this second theory is a comment that he made on the final post. He signed off with a smug comment that simply said, "I think it's time for my date." If he were truly in a situation where he feels like his life was being threatened, I'm sure that humour and smugness would be the last thing on his mind. I highly doubt he would be even taking the time to post to 4chan. That's just discussion though, and we still don't know the truth about the mystery. But let me know in the comments if you think this really was someone live posting their disappearance, or if it was a hoax all along. 2014, WebDriver Torso. In 2014, a mysterious YouTube channel by the name of WebDriver Torso started to pick up traction. Despite being created in 2013, it managed to stay under the radar until people began to take notice. This channel was uploading mostly 10-second videos at random intervals, so it had many chances to hit the recommended page. And that it did, as the 80,000 videos that had been uploaded at the time started to amass views. The first thing people would notice was the strange visuals. Random patterns of red and blue shapes would move across a white background, all while high-pitched sounds played in the background. There was really nothing to take from these videos, and although it certainly seemed random, people wanted to know who was behind the videos. For months, no one had taken credit for any of the videos, which seemed weird considering how popular they were becoming. This was a perfect chance for someone to make a spin-off career for themselves, or to even monetize these videos, which led people to believe that instead of a singular person creating these, it was an organisation. The Guardian tried to explain it away by saying that it was a series of test patterns, used by a European telecom company. Others thought this may be scientists trying to communicate with extraterrestrial life, but the answer was much simpler. When the source of the channel was traced by people who were trying to discover who the owner was, it was found that it was being run out of a Google office in Switzerland. This led people to believe that it may have been run by Google all along. And further evidence adding to this was that the only comment that the channel had ever left made reference to a man named Matti. The Google senior research scientist at the time was Matti Kucheria. I really hope I'm pronouncing that guy's name right. And sure enough, Google soon released an official statement, admitting that they were behind the channel, all while quoting Rick Astley. The company said, "We're never gonna give you uploading that's slow or loses video quality, and we're never gonna let you down by playing YouTube in poor video quality. That's why we're always running tests like WebDriver Torso." All along, it was used to post videos to YouTube to test upload speeds by the company themselves. So rather than sinister spies, it turned out to be nothing more than a simple test. 2015, Plague Doctor. In 2015, a strange video would go viral after being publicised by a Swedish tech blog. The editor had received it in the mail. It was sent with no return address, and the package was simply a DVD. On the package, there was a long string of numbers that was first assumed by the editor to be some sort of product key. He thought this whole thing might be software that someone wanted him to test, because that wasn't out of the norm. But he was in for a disturbing surprise. When he put the disc into a spare laptop, he was greeted with this. He assumed that this was something that was meant to be decoded, and when he failed, he put it out there for the public to see. The publication ran the story, and people immediately began to search for clues. People found out that although the editor was the first to make the video mainstream, he wasn't the first to publish it. In May of that year, a user called AETBX had published it to YouTube, and it was the only video on his channel. Very suspicious. Of course, the video started to garner a good amount of views thanks to the renewed interest, and AETVX actually responded to the increase in traction, asking why there was so much interest in the video which had laid dormant on the site for months. Commenters made him aware of the article and asked if he had been the one to create the video, and although some people were certain that he had, considering this was at the time the earliest instance of the video on the internet, he denied it completely. The Washington Post picked up on the new development on the story and actually reached out to the account for comment. He refused to state his full name, only saying that he was Daniel from Spain, and claimed that he had also received the video in the mail. He said that his version had been given to him by a girl who he didn't know via email. She alleged that she had found it on a random park bench. He even hit out at the original editor, saying that anyone can fake a DVD, casting doubt on his whole account. And more weight was added to the theory that the editor may have actually faked this entire thing, when another earlier instance of the video was found on 4chan. It was found on the paranormal board, and it was the exact same video. On another corner of the internet, a blog run by film students, there was a screenshot of the same video. They claimed their website had actually been hacked weeks prior to the discovery though, and more posts of the video were found. It seemed to be posted by hackers, but again, that was nothing more than a theory, and no one knew for sure. But the location of the video was eventually found. The former Zawówka Sanatorium near Warsaw was found to have the exact same graffiti and structure that could be seen in the video. Using old photos of the building, it was found that even though it had been abandoned for some time, that it lacked any graffiti prior to 2014, meaning that the video couldn't have been recorded earlier than that. But just when everyone thought the mystery would never be solved, we found out the truth. A man named Parker Warner Wright came forward to claim credit for the video, and although he wasn't the only person who had said that they had made the video, he actually had proof to back it up. On social media, he said that a new video would be released on the account at a certain time. At the exact time stated, a new video was published. The figure in the Plague Doctor costume from the first video returned, shown in the same building, seemingly proving that he was the person behind this. He was interviewed by the media and told reporters that he was a US citizen living in Poland. The videos were meant as an art project, and after finishing one video in May 2015, he left 3 physical copies, 2 discs on the subway and 1 in a park. He also left 1 digital copy, which was the one posted to 4chan. People were still skeptical, but with everything taken into account, he doesn't seem to be lying. But do you believe that Wright was really the man behind the mystery? Or do you think that somewhere out there, the true creator is still hiding their secret? 2016, Dracula 1920. Dracula 1920 is an obscure piece of lost media whose entire existence is debated. It's an alleged Russian film adaptation of the popular film Dracula, and if it did truly exist, then it would be the first film to actually adapt the story of the 1897 novel. Although some people are determined that this is real, others aren't so sure. No production stills, footage of any kind, or just general information is available on the film. Some sources have stated that they know the name of the director, but searches of his filmography proved that the film wasn't within it. But just because there's no information to back it up doesn't mean that it didn't exist. There are theories that it may have been destroyed in the Russian Civil War in 1920, but again, there is no substantial evidence to back this up. And it seems like false leads are everywhere with this piece of media. For example, a Russian news website claimed that the movie had been found in Serbia, but this was proven to be nothing other than a hoax. People did believe it at first though, because there was actual video to back it up. But it was quickly discovered that it was actually a film made at the time, which had been made to look old through editing techniques and other stuff like that. They even made a poster to go alongside the fake film trying to convince people, but alas, the truth came out. The other significant reference to the film is in the Vampire Book, an encyclopedia that lists all of the main vampire films throughout history. It lists the Dracula film in 1920, saying that no copy is known to have survived. Apparently, the film is also listed in the Russian State Film Fund, and they claim that it contained Ukrainian actors, but again, this is just a reference and no footage has ever been found. Others think that Dracula 1920 may have been confused with another film, a lost Hungarian Dracula film released in 1923, but so many people remain genuinely unsure about what the actual truth is. And I guess at this point, we'll never know. The likelihood of finding an obscure piece of media from from the 1920s, especially when it wasn't even made in the US or the UK, it's very hard, and the likelihood is much lower than modern pieces of media. But still, this is an internet mystery widely discussed all over the web, and to be honest, I'm not confident that we'll ever find it, but I remain hopeful that one day I can be proven wrong. It would be great to put this all to bed, so fingers crossed that one day the truth will come out. 2017, Google Maps body. This could bring back some memories for some of you, but remember on the early days of YouTube, you'd see those compilations of disturbing finds on Google Maps? Well, this is one of the most popular and certainly defined the 2010s in terms of internet mysteries. When people were searching the world on maps, they spotted something strange in the Dutch city of Almere. It looked normal on the surface, a long pier with an octagonal base in the middle of the water, but when zoomed in, it showed a disturbing scene. There was an object on the pier, surrounded by what appeared to be blood. It immediately went viral as people thought that they may have just uncovered an actual murder scene so blatantly on Google Maps. But as the theory shot in popularity, the person who was actually pictured in that image came out to uncover the truth. And to shut down any accusations of wrongdoing, of course. It turned out that this was actually a dog owner and his pet. The dog was wet and had walked along the pier, trailing water behind him, which, when it hit the surface that the pier was made out of, it looked a bit like blood from a bird's eye view. The owner said, "When I saw the picture, I realised it was my dog. He loves the water. He jumps off the end of the jetty, swims around to the bridge, and runs down to the edge again. It's hilarious that everyone thought it was a murder, but it's great that he's now world famous." So while this may not have been an actual murder scene, some people may still not know the truth. I remember that I had seen the image back in the day, but I didn't actually know that it had an update. So I was still out here thinking that the truth behind it was unsolved. Let me know in the comments if you saw this back in the day and what you think of the fact that it was simply a dog. 2018, Piper Bynes. If you've been around for a while, and I'm talking a while, Pipergate was the third ever video I uploaded to YouTube, all the way back in 2021. I remember I had been monitoring the situation for a while, but I didn't really know the niche. But I eventually reached out to the internet investigator and we started to work on it together. But apart from the little Jessicur lore dump, let's get into it. In early 2021, I came across the Piper Bynes YouTube channel. The channel description claimed that the person behind it, apparently a girl called Piper, was the cousin of Amanda Bynes and that they looked alike. Piper claimed that Amanda had given her props and clothes from her show, and that she was now using them to make a web series which she called The Piper Show. On the surface, this seemed innocent, but as you started to explore, it would get more disturbing. It's not uncommon for kids to have YouTube channels, especially in the 2020s, but something about this seemed off. It didn't take long to find a Twitter account that had been linked to the channel. It contained tweet after tweet of Piper randomly tweeting at her followers, thanking them for nothing. And this wasn't new either, because by this point, it had been going on for months. There was no context anywhere to be found in relation to this, but if you looked at the likes on the tweet, which were public at the time, you could find that people interacting with the alleged minor were all adults, and their accounts consisted of mainly NSFW content. And they weren't trying to hide the fact that they were being creepy towards Piper either. In the replies, they would call her cute, saying that she lost her underwear and that the adult had found it under his bed. And by far, this person was one of the two worst offenders. Meet Jacob, the man who made that tweet and one of Piper's most active followers. During the time that he was active on the platform, he would constantly be in the replies to Piper. In some disturbing instances, he even implied that he wanted to see her without clothes on. The other most active follower of Piper was a woman called Sky. She would say things to Piper, indicating that if she went up and down on a whale, then it would love her. And if you're putting the pieces together like we did back then, you can probably guess what she meant. And Piper was just feeding into it. I can't show the tweets because they show 3D images that are definitely suggestive, but she would post a 3D animated model of herself in situations with zombies. With the situation that these zombies were in and how she used the term, it didn't take long to figure out that that was code for predators. One of the most disturbing realizations of this entire rabbit hole. Another unsettling aspect is a realization realization that the tweets thanking her followers are likely her thanking the buyers, people who had bought illegal content from whoever was behind the Piper account. She was just leaving a trail of breadcrumbs to follow and to show appreciation to her biggest fans. This code of sorts would continue to be plausible as people began to realize how often she was speaking with her followers about a park, in some instances calling it Central Park. And if you take the initials of that, well, I'm sure you can figure it out. But you're probably thinking, a child couldn't have plotted all of this. It simply has to be a coincidence. Well, no, because the person behind the Piper account wasn't a teenage girl at all. By reverse searching the email addresses that were linked to the Piper accounts, it was discovered that they actually belonged to a man called William Glenn Whitaker. And it got darker when his history of abuse came up, as it was quickly found out that he had actually been convicted before for having illegal images in his possession. At the time he was running these accounts, he was also running a modelling agency targeted at kids, and it's terrifying to imagine what could have gone on behind closed doors. Also, who gave a man like this, with a prior conviction related to kids, permission to start an agency where he's surrounded by them? That seems so stupid. Whoever gave him permission needs a sack. To put the final nail in the coffin that Whitaker was the one behind this, the time when he passed away and the time when Piper stopped posting seem to match up perfectly. His motives to this day have never been confirmed and technically remain unknown. We can take a guess, but we'll never really know what his true intentions were. Nowadays, there's not much more to this mystery because Whitaker is dead. Of course, some other accounts have popped up here and there, but they all seem to just be attempts at getting attention. Also, I don't know who thinks of making these accounts, because how weird do you have to be to try and leech off the clout of a literal sexual predator? Pipergate became a huge topic of discussion when Nick Crowley made a video on it, so it's not really a surprise that people have tried to leech off the fame, as disturbing as it is. Everyone originally associated with Whitaker though has either been suspended from the platform or had their accounts deactivated. And yes, I have checked every single one of them because I have an evidence server from back then with links to all the accounts, and I have went through every single one of them to check. But this is a mystery that will never be forgotten. We can just hope that Whitaker didn't actually distribute any illegal material using the Piper accounts, but with all the evidence taken into consideration, that seems to be unlikely. 2019, Ruth Price. If you're an avid internet user, you've probably come across the Ruth Price 911 call, one of the most disturbing audios to be available to the public. The call was placed by an elderly woman who told the operator that her name was Ruth Price. She explains that the reason she is calling is because she saw a man lurking around her property. But before any more information is able to be extracted from Ruth, her calm yet concerned tone is replaced by horrific screams. The line goes dead shortly after, with the operator having to listen to the event unfold while they sat there completely powerless. There was a lot of debate over whether this call was actually real. Some people thought that it may have been a scripted call to train 911 operators, due to how, quite frankly, bad the operator was on this call in particular. She doesn't let Ruth finish giving her address, which is, the most common thing for operators to get. All we know is that she lives somewhere starting with 3877, and that's all due to the operator being completely unprofessional in extracting the right information. But there was also the argument that this was real. The terror in the screams of Ruth seemed to be too realistic for someone to have faked. The only thing not really backing this up is that around the time the call was placed, in the 80s or 90s give or take, there are no records of any Ruth being killed or kidnapped. Some people with the same name have been tracked down, but they never proved to be the one from the call. That was until 2022, when a Redditor would find a crucial piece of information that would solve this case for good. Reddit user Far Valuable found an obituary for Ruth M. Price, who died in 1994. Further research into the specific Ruth would uncover a newspaper clipping. It was from 1980 and it featured her story. It said that Ruth M. Price of the 3800 block was calling the police to advise him of a prowler in the area when she was grabbed from behind and choked. She was able to break the attacker's grip after dropping the phone and screaming, and after she pulled at their hands, the attacker fled. Ruth said that she had never seen the person before and didn't know why she was a target. With everything taken into account, especially the fact that this specific Ruth Price was from the 3800 block, it would seem that this is what happened. The truth has finally been revealed, and not only did Ruth manage to fight off her attacker despite being older, she managed to live for another 14 years. An absolutely amazing woman, if I do say so myself. And this remains as one of the greatest internet mysteries just because of how disturbing the audio is and how fantastic it is that it was finally solved. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you. Like and subscribe and share the video if you did enjoy. Let me know what your favourite mystery of the 2010s was and if I missed any that you think should have been included. And of course, thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members, Brooke, Entreprenaut, Maury Gann, K4 Silver, Alex Rod, Based Finger, Carmilla and Tango Slime. If you want to support me on Patreon or here on YouTube, you can get early access to videos like this for as little as £5 a month. Check out my Patreon link in the description or click the join button next to my channel name for more information. But of course that's not necessary, and just you supporting the videos is more than enough. I'll be back next Tuesday with another video, so have a great weekend, great start of your week, and I will see you next time.